Hello everybody, welcome to St. Moritz in Switzerland. We're ready for the second deciding run of the two-man bobsleigh competition at this most historic of all winter sliding tracks. Our 20 fastest sleds go through into the second heat and go in reverse order. The total time elapsed by the leader will be the smallest amount, and that will claim the gold medal here. Well, I'm Martin Haven, alongside me is John Morgan. And John, we've got a fascinating battle shaping up with just a few hundredths of a second separating our lead drivers.
Alexander Zubkov, the Russian, fourth place into the first run. He had huge speed in the bottom part of the track, had a little bit of a deficient start time. He shows everybody why he's still one of the best in the world and one of the favorites in Sochi. And now, Lyndon Rush, Lascelles Brown. This was the surprise of the field. Lyndon hasn't had great numbers this year, but here in St. Moritz, the best came out of him in the first run. Great start, best start of the first run, and Rush and Brown, they're right there in the medal mix, top three. Now, Switzerland's Beat Hefty, Alex Bowman. They won last week in Winterberg, and people were cheering him all the way down his home track here in St. Moritz. The best start, second best speed on the bottom. And he posted a track record, and he's currently in first place when he came down. But then, this little guy named Francisco Friedrich, this young 22-year-old German, Johannes Becker on the brakes. He won the World Championships here last year in two-man bobsledding in 4 heats. And on this day, he just repeated what he did last February. Jawohl from Christoph Langen, and Friedrich, the youngest pilot in the field. He's also leading the field, but boy, it's pretty close.
Very close indeed, just 700 separates second, third and fourth, and you can see anybody down to 7th place, Chris Spring, potentially take a medal here. Max Arndt a little off the pace in 8th place. Slight disappointment from Canada's Justin Cripps, but the real letdown, 12th place, Thomas Florschutz. He took the bronze medal in the two-man worlds here less than 12 months ago. John Jackson, Jan Verber, and Ivo de Bruyne do not get a second heat, and Stephen Holcomb, our World Cup points leader, lying in 5th position. He could spring a real surprise here.
Well, the air temperature, it's been a little warm here. There's the train that adjacent to the track, and what a setting. You know, it's just, you can't describe this place. It's a Disneyland.
It is a winter wonderland and the perfect place for ice sliding, which is why they've been doing it for over a century here. Alexei Stulnev will be the first to go. He was 20th in Heat 1. Heat 2, they go 20 down to 1. Both times are counted, and the least time for the 2 runs will be the gold medal winner. Francesco Friedrich, the world champion in two-man 11 months ago here in St. Moritz, is going to be the last to go, defending a slender lead against the very best on the planet. But a wrap up warm, there's a little bit of a cold wind coming. Air is changing, should be around -10 degrees tomorrow. It's +2 at the moment here in St. Moritz. That's Alexei Stulnev of Russia with Nikolai Zednikov getting to the start.
The 5th different Russian driver we have seen in the last 2 weeks. Now, the Russians have been shuffling athletes up between the Europa Cup, which is in Innsbruck this week. And so a lot of athletes are going back and forth in the double competitions they have down there. And this athlete, first time we've seen him this year.
Yeah, Nikita Zakharov did the North American races. Yevgeny Pashkov last week.
20th place, and you know, he had the 22nd best start time in the first run, which a lot to do with the bottom time is your start time, and this is very interesting up here. Watch that start speed. Now look at the drift. This is not what you want. Look at him duck his head. See that? When you're that confident, you'll see some people just put their head straight down if they know they got a straight line in the exit of wall into the snake and 2-corner combination.
And John, you might say, what is the point of that? What can it possibly save? Well, it could save 100th, and that could be a position.
Absolutely. We've seen that last week. A couple races, 100th of a second separated gold and silver.
Well, Stulnev's not going to be shooting for the medals this year yet. As you said, the 5th different athlete, the 3rd Russia won sled in as many races, 106 kilometers an hour. Down at the bottom of the track, we should see them over 107, and then the fastest speeds down here should be just touching 140 kilometers an hour.
There's a tap there. You had Gunter Sachs. You don't want to do that. 137.9. That's a 85.7 miles an hour. I would believe the track's not as fast as it was in the first heat. This is the third race of the day. It's warm. It's a natural track. I don't think the track's got a lot left in it.
Yeah, I think it may slow down towards the end of the run, and if anything, of course, that'll tighten up the leading pack and maybe make changes a little bit more likely. Well, Alexei Stilnev, just 600s difference between his two runs, so quite consistent.
Drift, watch them come to the right side. You want to come right down the middle. It's so easy for us to sit here and say you can do that. Then he gets on the first part of this wall curve, and he wants to fight the pressure. But that top part that they just showed us there at a curve one, real important.
Lloyd Kosterg of France with Roman Heinrich behind him there from the La Plagne region in the French Alps. And of course the home of French bobsledding. They're really jump-starting French bobsledding. 26-year-old Kosterg, he's got a good future in front of him.
Yeah, if they can stay together, doesn't get all the support he needs from the French Ice Sports Federation that controls hockey, figure skating, speed skating. It's quite a conglomerate of winter sports all under one roof. And I think the bobsled's the low guy in the totem pole. And he's, you know, the days of French bobsleigh, you know, a world championship in '99, Bruno Majon. And this is the sled he's driving, is a Bruno Majon design sled. Bruno Majon also won a bronze medal at the '98 Winter Olympic Games in four-man bobsledding in Nagano, Japan. But this kid's made some strides. We've been impressed with him all year. And you know, when you start doing well, the media starts to show up. And the Canal Plus crew is here walking around with him for the second week in a row.
106.2, better speed than the first heat, but he gives it away there.
Oh, really late down in the... We get down into the horse at a horseshoe and telephone, Shamrock, Devil's Dyke, all these corners that have been named over 100 years ago.
Good speed from the Frenchman, 138 kilometers an hour, 86 miles an hour, and he dusts off the Russian. He was only 1700s in front of Stilnev in Heat 1. He doubles that advantage here in Heat 2.
Well, you always want to take your run, go to the leader's box. You're the leader.
We saw a dramatic turn in the leader's box from Canada's Kaylee Humphries in the women's race.
Yeah, look at this. This is way down into Devil's Dyke and Nameless. Late off that curve, a lot of pressure into the next curve. A lot of challenge down there in the bridge curve when you have that much pressure coming at you because you're late. Right there's the bridge curve.
75 miles an hour there, John, and really changing direction fast. There's Lloyd Kosterg. Next up, Corey Butner of the USA. Won't race in the four-man race yesterday after crashes in training. And Andreas Dreibel behind him in the two-man. Disappointing start, disappointing drive. Not a great day for Corey Butner.
Well, Corey's fighting a little post-race concussion, but he won a bronze medal last week. His first medal in Europe, in Winterberg, Germany, with two-man bob. And, you know, I say he's stupid fast, because last year there was a number of occasions, like at the Sochi pre-Olympic test, he had the 21st best start time, and he had the 6th best down time. That was in a Bodine sled. Last week in Winterberg, he had the 15th best start time and finished with a third place bronze medal. That's what you call stupid fast. You don't get away with having those deficient start times and get up close to the podium. And he did that in the brand new BMW sled that he's driving now. So if there's one common denominator between stupid fast, he's a good driver.
Well, he was only 18th after the first heat, but he is ranked 3rd two-man bobsleigh driver on the planet this season. So very disappointing first run. He's putting that behind him. He's accelerating away from Lloyd Kosterg.
He was sideways at the top of the track. 138.8. That's the best speed we've seen so far. This is a much better run. 107.39. He had 107.46 in the first run. Coach Mike Dion looking on, and you know, again, they held him out of the four-man competition tomorrow. They held him out to practice the last couple days. He hit pretty hard over in the bridge curve in four-man training on Tuesday.
Well, he didn't take any other training runs, which is why he's not allowed to race in Foreman. He just doesn't have enough track time.
Well, you have to have two completed runs,
yeah.
And he didn't get the second run because they held him out. He already had 2 training runs completed in the 2-man competition. But Corey, well, nice to see you at the bottom, buddy.
Better run.
Where's leader's box?
Into the leader's box he goes as Nicolae Strati of Romania comes to the top of the track. Nicolae Strati, Florin Crăciun of Romania, 17th after the first heat, 100th of a second ahead of the man ranked third in the 2-man worlds, third in the 2-man drivers World Cup rankings this season. Corey Butner, who is our current race leader for the USA. Well, Nicolae Strati, a veteran driver now.
24th best start in the first run. Corey Butner at the bottom at the 28th best start in the first run, which just deficient start times, not a good asset to your winning medal. So for that guy to be ranked third in World Cup points, tells you he's got some good eyes and hands.
Yeah. Butner's worst result up until this has been a 9th place. He's had 2 4ths and 2 3rds in the last 4 races, but this is not going to be one of his better weekends, I don't think. Strati, though, drove himself from outside from 19th place up into 17th, as you say, nearly the slowest start in the field.
Yeah, lost a little time back, doesn't have the speed that Butner has. I think that Butner's equipment, that brand new BMW sled compared to this old DSG sled, I got to believe Butner's going to come out on top.
Yeah, Strati already into the red. Corey Butner at the bottom, 138.8 kilometers an hour, 137.9 from Strati. Couple too many errors creeping in, and consistency is your friend in this sport.
Still not a bad ride.
Yeah.
107.45 in the first run, 107.49 in the second run. That's as consistent as you can get on this track.
So Nicolae Strati slips into 2nd place. He will drop a spot from his first run 17th.
Look at these lines. High. Watch the runner tips. They're straight there. Now watch them. See, turning them down. Let's get off the curve here before it's too late. Slingshot effect onto the bottom part of the track. Great pictures from our crew.
Brings it down a little early. That means he then has to steer right to get lined up for the right-hander. Edwin van Kalker and Arnold, his brother, in the break. Sybren Jansma pulled a thigh muscle in the 2-man last weekend and is still not fit. Pressure on the Dutch to qualify for the Winter Olympic Games. Just announced in the Dutch press yesterday that the Prime Minister, and for the first time ever, the King of the Netherlands, will go to Sochi for the Games. The question is, will there be any Dutch bobsledders for him to watch?
He's already qualified for 4-man. I think he's already qualified for entrance into the games in the Dutch Olympic standard. Now, of course, ooh, the push bar still out. There it comes down.
Well, that happened in the first round as well. John, the driver's got to get in and steer the sled through the first corner.
That's his.
Oh,
my.
Talk about pinball wizard. He's already behind. He hasn't even got to a corner with a name yet.
The names on these curves are over 100 years old. And, you know, you say, of course, they're older than these athletes, but they're older than most of these athletes' great-grandparents. And it's for Edwin van Kalker, this has been 5-6 week, 2-month period that he would want to forget. He admits he's the first guy to admit he almost crashes. He's just lost focus, it seems to me.
He's having a shocking season.
He's the first guy to admit, I got to get better, but the mistake he just made up there, Wall, no one will do that in this whole second heat, and he was the first sled to almost crash on the Exeter Horseshoe today. So he's an athlete that's, you know, athletes get into slumps, and he says, I have to drive myself out of the slump, but Edwin, we're running out of time.
He is running out of time. He's not going to get anywhere in this race. Wow. He drops to the tail of the field, 20th place.
He'll finish probably in 20th place. You know, you feel for him because he was a great bobsled driver in the previous 4 or 5 years in the sport. He won medals.
Best result in 2-man this year, John, is 17th. He's failed to make the cut even twice.
He
and
almost
look at this.
Made the cut in the horseshoe. You talk about being late. How does he get a runner up there? How does he get that sled up there? And then the crossover. Look at these pictures. I mean, how he doesn't go over here.
That is luck, not judgment.
I think the bump caught there on that angle and kept him from going. Oh, look at this. Look at the back end here.
That makes horrible viewing, really does. Nobody likes to see a sled that much out of control.
Boy, oh boy. Edwin.
Tough times. Edwin Valkalka is 5th. It's Corey Butner of the USA, our leader, with 15 still to go. Final 15 sleds in Saturday's action in St. Moritz. Simone Bertazzo of Italy with Francesco Costa behind him. And the Italian driver now in his mid-30s, still trying to find the spark that he needs to really produce the goods.
2007 World Championships here in St. Moritz. He got a bronze medal in the two-man competition. Trying to think of the people in that event. Holcomb, of course.
Well, the Swiss, Beat Hefty was there, Ivo Rug was there.
Yeah, but Hefty was as part of the four-man team for Ivo Rug. He wasn't even driving. Florschutz, I don't know if he was in the competition. He might have been, but I don't think there was too many more people in the field. And, you know, he's getting a little long in the tooth, but, you know.
Well, I'm aligning him, actually. He is only still 31. Carabinieri from the Dolomiti region around Cortina.
Great, great drive lines, speed. You know, deficient start time. He had the 3rd best start, but still, you know, him and Butner had the 2 worst starts of the competition. One of the worst starts in the competition in the first heat.
Not as much speed as he had in the first heat. This is drifting away from him. The gap is coming down.
Looks like enough. It's going to be close, but I think he's got enough in the bank here to overtake Butner.
Whoa, 1300ths of a second. 107.42 slide. His first heat was a 107.42 as well. Identical time, different mistakes. Well, Corey Butner advanced a couple of spots after his first run. Simone Bertazzo remains in the leader's box for the moment.
Look at the feet. Watch the gymnastics type move you have to make to get in and get over that cowling. And then he's got to hope that he doesn't hook his feet on the D-rings. The D-rings are how you steer. Sometimes you hook those D-rings and he doesn't get down in time. You come out of these grooves and you go right into the wall. So you can see where those grooves end. That holds you in there until the driver gets in and grabs the steering rings. D-rings, we call them.
Race leader Simone Bertazzo as the first of our Swiss sleds comes to the ice. This is Rico Peter. Thomas Amrine, the track record holder this morning, or before this morning, in the two-man competition. He set that with Gregor Baumann in the Swiss Championships. Beat Hefty did not compete in the Swiss Championships, decided to have a week's rest instead. Eric Allard, the coach, former French pilot, by which we mean driver, obviously, as opposed to a man who flies planes. He flies bobsleds.
.522 start in the first run, 12th in the first 50 meters. Okay, get in, get down. 5:21 is better. Watch this speed in the left. You want to keep track of that speed because you might have a better start, but if you don't get in that sled and get down around that first curve and rock it, you might not have the best speed. So if you're creeping the little box score and trying to educate yourself, always keep track of that start time and then the start speed. If you want the best start time or the best start speed, take the best start speed.
A 10th ahead at the start. 2100s up coming out of Sunny. And he was only 600s in front of Simone Bertazzo of Italy from the first heat, so he's already more than doubled that, nearly tripled that advantage, and he is now 3 times further in front. 106.6, good speed.
Much better heat for him, although he did tap going into that Devil's Dyke curve, which a lot of people tap there, lose their time. That's why he didn't accelerate more than that 2800s, and could lose a little back, but should be the leader. And this is, to be honest with you, a much better heat. That's great speed. That matches the best speed of the first heat.
Got a little more speed under his belt than he did last time around.
107.05.
2 tenths quicker than his first run. Yeah, that's the sort of improvement you want to see when you're the second Swiss slider and you're only in 14th place.
The only thing he did wrong there was he didn't do that in the first heat. He had done that in the first heat, he'd been down the top 11 or 12.
Yeah, 107.5 would have put him 11th, or exactly 12th place, actually, after the first heat.
Ivo Rug, the former world champion, helping him get out of the sled. And look at the lines. Look at the runner tips. We always look for the runner tips right here. You can see they're not parallel. He's steering there. Now he brings them back. So he felt good about his line, and then he slingshotted himself into telephone. You know why they call that place the telephone? There used to be a telephone down there. In case you crashed, you called back up and said, hey guys, I crashed. That was 100 years ago.
That's how random the sport was in the early days. Justin Cripps of Canada with Brian Barnett behind him, Team Beard. Wait till you see the hirsuteness of their four-man lineup. If they don't win an Olympic gold medal for facial hair, then nobody will. Well, there is our gold medalist, Heather Moyse. She won gold with Kaylee Humphries in the women's race earlier on.
Cripps, big, strong, fast athlete. He was one of the better athletes of the team 3 years ago. Now they pick up this Brian Barnett, a great track and field athlete out of the Canada Athletics program. He's a big boy. He can run. And Cripps didn't have a great drive down the track. I don't know if it was the top or the bottom, but he had it going. And right now, he's going to really have to be straight, because the guy that just came down in front of him, Rico Peter, he was straight. He was like on a rail from horseshoe down. 3
top 8 finishes so far this season. He's the third of the Canadian sleds. They're 9, 10, and 11 in the World Cup rankings.
105.3, that's a kilometer plus down. Then he hit hard into the Devil's Dyke curve. I got to believe that 15 is gone. He hit again. He's late there. He's just late for 5 quarters in a row.
138.5 speed in the first heat at the bottom. He probably won't get to that in the second.
No, this is not a good run for Justin Cripps.
Oh, 2 kilometers an hour down.
How many places is he going to fall? But this is a work in progress. 6th best time of the run. He falls behind Butner. And let me just say, this is a work in progress. This guy's coming. He's coming. Takes another year or so. If he stays with the program the next 4 years, I think you're going to hear a little bit more from Justin Cripps.
Well, he's got lots of potential, no question about it. And another few years on ice, he could be right in amongst the medals.
He's just not consistent. Does he hit the lip? No. Boy, look at those pictures. Now the crossover. You want to go from left to right and come over and hit the curve perfectly to slingshot under the bottom. I keep using that expression. But here's down into Shamrock to Devil's Dyke. Watch him hit before the take-on. Now watch the sled come in the middle of the curve, and he's got to steer on the outlet. He's late here. He's late in the next curve, and he's late at the bottom.
Thomas Florschutz of Germany, bronze medalist in the World Championships for two-man in February 2013. January 2014, 12th in the World Cup field. What is going on with this man's drive? No drama with Kevin Kuska behind him, as big and powerful a man as ever. They were the 7th quickest starting sled. Florschutz is giving away a decade in age to Justin Cripps, and yet Cripps couldn't even outstart him. 5:18 again for that sled.
Well, he went early in the heat, and we were very perplexed why he was not faster at the bottom. He had great speed. Oh, there's a little mistake on a wall. He had a little mistake on the exit of Devil's Dyke that cost him a lot of time down on the bottom part of the track. But this man, the silver medalist from the 2010 games, 37 years old, and maybe the youth, Max Arndt and Francisco Friedrich, are getting the best equipment in Germany. Maybe that's his problem.
Got bumped out of bronze last week in Winterberg by 100th of a second by Alexander Zubkov. But he's not even in the same postal code as Zubkov here in St. Moritz, a track that really should play to his driving strengths. 138.8. That's a kilometer an hour too slow. It's not working for Florschutz here. He takes the lead at the moment, but really we're talking about being 12th or 13th. This is not where Florschutz should be operating.
Not on this track. He's had a lot of success on this track. I think he won double gold here a couple years ago on this track, one of the World Cups.
Yeah, this might well be
2011, 2012, double gold maybe. But here's the tap out of wall. No. You got to be in the middle there. You got to be so quiet up here. No mistakes allowed where the speeds are slow. Then down where it's fast, you can't be sliding like that off one curve to the next. That's into Devil's Dyke, and just doesn't look like the guy who had so much promise coming into the season.
I spoke to Kathleen Martini after her bronze medal earlier on, silver medal earlier on. She said the track is so different today from training. It's faster, and after all of the sleds that have gone down, it is so polished. She said she went for a much more aggressive setup runner, and that really worked for her. I wonder if Florschutz went with what he liked in training, and it's not worked. Next up, Oskars Melbardis of Latvia, third fastest starter, 11th at the bottom of the track. This ex-brakeman starting beast still needs more ice time to be able to convert this power here, John Morgan, into time down the bottom.
Third year doing this, and I think the way to describe his driving, you could say it's erratic. And his start times falling off a little bit, and I think he's just at that, he had peaked. His level of acceleration level and his learning curve level was so positive the first 2 years, and I think he's a little stuck on neutral right now.
5:11 start, just tied the start record. That was set by 2 people in the first heat, which is why his 5:12 was third quickest time. But this is a tidy looking run now. This is much more controlled than heat 1.
Yeah, he's usually 1 for 2. He has one good one, one bad one. But look, with that start time they just had, he's already down. Look at the speed. He's a couple of kilometers down to everybody else. So now he's starting to figure out that, you know, driving, don't drive, don't steer, it's all in his head. This is the learning curve. This is not a sophomore slump, but something similar to it. We refer to things in the States like that. But boy, it's a name. He's only 23 years old. He's huge, you know, and he's learning.
Monster potential.
Yeah, you know, Florschutz, he's not even happy. Kevin Kuska is a brakeman that won the gold in 2002, 2006 he won double gold, 2010 another gold, and he's still hanging out now with Thomas Florschutz. He did all that work before with Andre Lange, but you know, they aren't even happy. They don't belong back here.
Well, John, 12th, 11th, really, who cares?
Who cares? Look at the runners come up here. I'm hearing a lot more people saying if the runners come up that it's less friction, and I am seeing more of it. I don't buy it. I think when the runners come up, it pushes the nose down. Look how frustration. Look at the frustration.
If you talk to a physicist, he'll say, if it's coming up, it can't be going forward. Thomas Florschutz leads from Rico Peda and Oskars Melbardis. Frustrating time for the drivers. 10 still to go here in St. Moritz. At the start area by the Gunter Sachs Lodge, you can see the wind blowing through that little alleyway. It's quite a cold wind blowing now. It's been very still for the last couple of days, quite mild. And there are the guys all in the white jackets there that were racing with Prince Albert of Monaco.
That is Prince Albert.
We're in the cap.
There is the left side.
Yeah, they were going to go in a historic race yesterday. That was cancelled because of warm temperatures.
Prince Albert, the best ambassador the sport's ever had. Yeah, Yves Piaget up on the phone on the left-hand side.
He sponsored the race. Yves Piaget
sponsored that reception we were at last night too,
and very nicely too. Yes, it was. It's always a fun race that used the old-style Feierabend, the open sleds that we used. Well, John, almost into the 1980s, they look so ancient compared to the fully faired modern sleds.
And to watch those guys go down aboard, they enjoy themselves. What a time!
Yeah. All with the woolly jumpers and the +4s and the big knit socks and the boots, you know, old style. In the yellow jacket there, Patrick Leitner, double Olympic champion in doubles luge for Germany. He's on hand here. He's working with the German networks.
A lot of German sponsors. Don't blame them.
And there's Daisy the cow. Remember her from last year? She was producing great milk and still on top of her game.
That's right, adjacent to the track.
Fabian Meyer there, bronze medal yesterday, earlier on today. Yeah, best day.
Thomas Schwab on the left, the executive director of the German Bobsled, Skeleton and Luge Federation.
The leader of the Luge Federation for a very successful decade he was. Touch of white wine. I don't mind if I do. Swiss wine, get the taste for that. It's very nice indeed.
This is the top of the track where you overlook the paddock area. I'm telling you, if you ever want to go on a bobsled trip, this is the place to come. Yes, it's expensive. It's worth every penny.
We just paid identify who's in the shot with our team in the truck. I think we won there. That was a good set of identification. Ten sleds to go in St. Moritz. The two-man World Cup round number 6 here at the most legendary racetrack, well, maybe in all of winter sports. For over 100 years, they've been sliding down this hill. We've got 10 sleds to go to decide who takes the gold medal. Current leader, Thomas Florschutz of Germany. But next up is Oskars Viessmann, the second of the 2 Latvian sleds, the younger of the 2 drivers. He's just 20 years old, former brakeman, and turned driver only 2 seasons ago. John Morgan, we talked about the potential of Oskars Melbardis, but this kid is another 2 years behind in development, but was quicker in the first heat.
he seems to have a little bit more of a, oh, he almost fell there. That push bar collapsed on him, looked like there.
Oh my Lord!
Maybe they should have the push bar collapse more.
Maybe they took some weight out in the retaining bolt.
20 years old, 20 years old, can push. This is what you got to do. This country, 2.5 million people. They dominate the sport of skeleton. They are a rising power. They're always good in bobsled. With this 20 and 22-year-old pilots who are push monsters, the next 4 or 5 years, Latvia could emerge as a superpower in the sport. And I love to say, the biggest, fastest athletes in the United States are in the NFL. The biggest, fastest athletes in Latvia are bobsledding.
1100ths of a second up on leader Thomas Florschutz, who was the bronze medalist in last year's World Championships on this track. This is the battle for 10th.
Late, really late there.
But he's still in front.
Speed on the bottom part of the track. It could go away quickly. You want to maximize it.
106.3 was good speed, though, through telephone.
This is going to be close.
138, a little slower than Florschutz to the 100th of a second.
200ths
of a second.
A 20-year-old just knocked out the 2010 silver medalist from the Olympic Games in Vancouver. I'm telling you, I'm Thomas Florschutz. I got the tail between my legs walking away going, what have I done wrong? Or how good is this competition getting?
I'll tell you something else. Keeper-Manis brought his A-game to both
Watch the push bar
today.
Here. Watch the push. This is a track record at the start. Watch, he almost collapses here. Right here. There. Look at that.
You know, that could really injure your fingers badly, and yet he still drove with a silky touch.
Look at this. Look how high his head is. Yeah. They're going to work with him there. His head's way too high. Look at he was late down there. He's 20 years old.
John,
he's 20.
He may not have raced on this track more than twice before.
That's
why his head is up.
Look, his hand. Yeah, he's here. Well, he definitely hurt his hand.
Well, he's a 250-pound athlete nearly, jamming his finger in that lever. Max Arndt of Germany with Martin Putzer, 8th place, our second best German sled.
Okay, and here's another guy that uses the 2-man to warm up for the 4-man. He's got 4 different results, 5 different results, only one time in the top 10 in 2-man, Bob.
But he's our 4-man world champion, as you say. He likes the big sports car. He doesn't like this little racing machine half as much.
But he didn't get as good a line down the track in the first heat as you expect. I spoke to Christian Reich, who's our Swiss commentator, and he gave me analysis. Of course, he's a silver medalist for the sport in 2002, so he knows bobsled lines. And he said Arndt didn't have very good lines. He was surprised. He also thought that Beat Hefty had the best run of the week in practice or race, and to watch out for him in the second run.
We had a hit Nash to Dixon. 106.5 is still good speed. These FES sleds really cleave the air nicely, but he's not making the most of his advantages. He's 2/10 back still.
He is a speed merchant, if anybody can find it on the bottom. Max Arndt, the best 4-man pilot in the world, in my opinion. Look at this, he's bringing it back, down to 10. This is going to be close. He might have run out of track.
To stay in front of a 20-year-old brake man.
100th, but that's what he does. Yes, jawohl. But this is what this kid can, not kid, I mean, we call him a kid. He's 25.
Yep.
The kid he just beat is 20. That's young.
That is
But
young.
on the bottom part of the track, he was down by 20, down by 15, brought it back to 100th. You can only do that with talent.
Keeper-Manis was quicker on that run.
Watch the brakeman here in the hands.
Well, he slips with his hands.
Look at his hands. Look at it. What is that?
Martin Putzer.
That's a guy
he's
with
pulled a muscle there somewhere. Look at
his hand.
Really,
still.
He's in real pain there, Martin Putzer.
What happened there?
Is that a hamstring or something, or a thigh pull?
No.
Because
something happened there.
Or a nerve maybe got trapped in his arm.
So the guy fell at the start, broke the track record at the start. They do that. They're still in the lead at the bottom.
Wow.
We're getting a little education here.
Funny times here in St. Moritz. Not necessarily funny ha-ha for everybody. Nick Cunningham of the USA currently lies in 5th place in the World Cup rankings. Silver, bronze, silver, Placid, and Park City. But he's yet to repeat that form here in Europe. 12th last week in Winterberg, Germany. He lies 8th after the first heat.
His brakeman, Abe Morblu, the quite nice story about him. He was sliding for Switzerland last year. The Swiss found him. He was training in Europe. And in the World Cup, there's not as much emphasis on passports. But the Americans saw how good he did and grabbed him, and they've recruited him back into the American camp. So he's a great athlete.
Great leg speed he had. That going away shot, he's just stunning, isn't he?
Yeah, 5:20 start in that heat.
5th quickest in the field.
He was the 5:19th in the first heat. And Cunningham did not have that clean of a drive down the bottom in his BMW sled.
28-year-old cowboy from Monterey, California. Oh, great high line, and he holds it on the exit. Really should build speed there.
1.5. Oh, that's not great. This is a track and field athlete, ended up going to Boise State, rodeo rider in the world-class athlete program, WCAP. That's what gives him the chance to come out here and represent his country.
139.3. Cunningham was a whisker quicker in the first heat.
This is going to be close.
He's gone behind. Can he take on?
No.
He ducks his head, but Abe Morlew puts his up.
He drops 4 places in 800ths of a second. And this is 2.5 miles in distance.
Wow. Let's see that finish shot again. Cunningham ducks for the extra 100th. Abe Morlew's already putting his head up to look for the finish. Little miscommunication there.
Look at this. Does he hit the lip? I think he's a whisker away. Now watch the runner tips. Watch him on the exit. Look at his eyes. Look at him way his head's turned. Look at the runner tips. It's a slight steer, but that looks pretty significant right there.
He nailed that.
Yeah, into the exit of Horseshoe. Not the guy who steers the most that wins. It's the guy who steers the least.
Absolutely. Well, Abe Morlew's going to have to learn the pressure in the finish corner. Lots of Canadians on the fence here now for Chris Spring and Jesse Lumsden. Lumsden, the world push champion athlete from the pre-season occasion in Calgary, Alberta. Chris Spring, born in Darwin in Australia's Northern Territory. The 29-year-old now lives in Calgary and slides for Canada. And Chris Spring is Canada's best driver this season in 2-man and 4-man.
He's been coming on. He's emerged as Canada 1. Ooh, I didn't like that little exchange there.
Little bump up the second kink, but he kept it straight. It didn't skid, it didn't hit the wall. It came down in the middle of the track, and that's what you need.
Wall curve now into the snake, a left and a right, now into sunny curve, big sweeping right. Now we into Nash and Dixon, named after Nash and Dixon, who won the Olympic gold medal for Great Britain at the Innsbruck Games in '64. Now into Horseshoe. Listen to the names on this track. Telephone, Shamrock, Devil's Dyke, all these names in this track were, you know, in 1910, 1920s when they named most of these curves.
Good speed from Chris Spring, nearly 0.3 of a second still in front of Max Arndt. Can he hold that advantage? He needs good speed at the bottom.
I don't think he's worried about Max Arndt. He wants to pick off a couple more people.
Including get closer to Lyndon Rush, the top Canadian sled, who's in second off the first heat.
Time of the run.
107.06. He was 106.9 in the first heat, so that's not as much speed as he found on the way down the first time. I wonder, John, we talked that this might happen. What's the time now? 3:25 local. It's warm, it's +2, +3. The track could be slowing down now.
There's about 135 sleds been down this track today. Look at the runner. Look how deep the runner is in that groove, first of all. I'm noticing that. That right groove is really deep. Then it comes up a little bit. Look at the way they enter the sled with cat-like movements. You want to get in, settle to watch because the grooves end right here. The driver's got to get the D-ring to steer. He's got to come around the curve. There's an animated Chris Spring.
Got the wild man look going on there with Jesse Lumsden behind him, adding a bit more. Alexander Kasyanov of Russia with Max Belugin. I'd like to see these guys try and grow their hair along with a coach like Pierre Luders. That's not happening in a million years. Well, Kasyanov, the second of our Russian drivers, still just 30 years old, this economist from Bratsk. And I think he's got the potential to really step up and inherit the mantle left behind when Alexander Zubkov retires in a month's time.
Very good first run from Kasyanov. Really fast on the bottom. Start time wasn't that great, but I've been saying this was my dark horse in 4-man bobsled in Sochi. Everybody thinks Zubkov's going to waltz in there. He beat Zubkov in the Olympic test last year, where they tied to 100th for third place. but he has had some very, very, very fast runs, more in 4-man than 2-man.
And you've got to bear in mind, of course, because he's Russia too, he doesn't get the fastest athletes. When Zubkov retires, it seems absolutely cast iron after Sochi. Suddenly this kid will end up as Russia 1 with an even faster start. He won't be 1100s behind, he might be 1 or 200s behind at the start. Then we'll see the team leader really take this by the horns.
Takes 2 to push a bobsled. The Russians are going to find, you know, monsters like the Latvians got so that they win the start. If you win the start, you get the best chance to win at the bottom. Kasanov gives up time at the start, which is why he's fighting now. He's going to drop 3 or 4 places here. Not a very good run. Started with a bad start. 7th best time of the run. He drops 3 places. And
Spring and Lumsden stay in the leader's box. Big Jesse and Chris Spring. What a turnaround, John, from 18 months ago when Chris Spring was in intensive care after a huge crash in the Altenburg track in a 4-man hospital.
Ago.
2 years ago, season and a half. And now he's just so strong.
Great comeback. Good, you know, tap before Devil's Dyke. Watch him go in the middle of the curve. He's got to steer late there. He's got to steer late. He still hasn't caught up right here. You can see him playing with the rudder tips. He taps there. That mistake was made 150 yards, 200 yards ago.
And those corners are so fast and so close together, it all catches you up. Chris Spring is our race leader from Max Arndt and Kiba Manis of Latvia, a great third. Top of the track in St. Moritz is the USA 1 bobsled. Stephen Holcomb with a chance now to fight for the medals. 2200s off the lead, but such a close group here in St. Moritz over this next mile of ice. He and Christopher Fote could put themselves back on the podium.
Start time, 7th best start in the first run, 5:18. 5:15 here, a little bit better.
Fote, John, almost ran it down to the first corner.
Well, remember when he won the 7 straight races in North America, 4 of them 2-man in this new BMW sled, he had the 1st or 2nd best start time. Now he had the 7th best start time in the heat. So coming over to Europe, they don't have their legs under, maybe still a little jet lagged, who knows, but start, doesn't matter what kind of equipment you got and how good you can drive, you gotta have a start time.
Holcomb 300ths of a second up on Chris Spring at the moment.
Holcomb was very fast on the bottom part of the track. +3s, losing time back, 106.4s, decent. He can't afford any more mistakes. He needs to allow this sled to fly, and it can fly in the bottom. Here it is, +3, +2. If he's straight here at a gutter sacks with no tap, he's got a chance. Right there, watch how, is he straight?
Is there enough speed in the track? No tap,
He
139
big
kilometers
speed.
an hour, that's
should
good.
do it. He should be the leader with that type of speed.
Might be enough to keep him in the hunt for the
5
medals.
300s. He drove himself to that spot in the bottom part of the track.
But again, like Spring, like Kazyanov, like Cunningham, not able to produce the speed of the first heat or the time of the first heat.
His deficit is at the start. That's where he won all those races with great driving, great equipment. Look at the runner tips here. Look at these eyes looking ahead. And this is where he did it. Right down the pipe. All those sleds there went before him.
Yeah.
And he had 139.
I think it's getting slower.
I think the track's definitely getting slower.
And he was only 500ths off the fastest starter, 5:10. He started 5:15, so that's a tiny whisker of time. So 4 to go then. Stephen Holcomb of the USA with 4 2-man wins under his belt leads. Alexander Zubkov of Russia is next to go. His best result, silver medal last weekend. That's his only 2-man podium of the season. And his first race back with Alexei Voyevoda after 2 years of very frosty relationships between them. They now seem to be able to muddle along, hoping for an Olympic gold.
You talk about a huge man, you don't want to meet that guy in the breaks in an alley. He's the arm wrestling champion of Russia. And when you put your hand out to shake his hand, the only person's hand I've ever seen bigger in my life than his was Merlin Olsen's. I'm telling you, this, it's just scary how big he is. Do you see him back there? Barely.
No, barely at all.
And this Zubkov, you know, he's sneaky fast. Everybody thinks he's a 4-man guy, but ooh, that's not good there. But he's had some great success on this track at 2-man. 1200's lead.
It was only 500s up at the start, so it's good momentum that they put into this sled, which will be stripped to the bone, super lightweight to get Voda in it.
Speed, yeah, he's pulling away now. Oh, big speed here too, so I think he's gonna pull away from Holcomb. Great lines down here.
Well, the Austrian-bit Valner sleds have always been real speed machines here in St. Moritz, and he's driving this up a storm.
Without that mistake above the S's, he would have been even better, but he's
looking
flying.
for a win here, Alexander Zubkov.
139.8, huge speed, so this could be a medal run. This is definitely sending a message back up top. 106.77.
139.8 is the second fastest speed that anybody has produced on this track all weekend.
In the second run, too.
Yeah.
That's the guy we expect.
Now, he has gone quicker than his first heat,
by
and
400.
he knows it. And he knows it.
Yeah, but Bussy made that mistake up top.
Yeah.
So hello, Alexander. That's the way to do it. And here's the only mistake. I mean, so critical. Out of wall, bang, bang. He's going into the snake curves, two of them, and he hit twice. Educated guess, that's 1500s, 2000s at the bottom. And if he doesn't win a medal, it's because of that mistake.
See the yellow visor. Of course, we got a white track with white background. Makes it kind of hard to see her in front of you. The visor cuts down the glare. Top three in St. Moritz in the two-man bobsled race. Canada, Switzerland, Germany. First up then, third after heat one, Lyndon Rush with Lascelles Brown behind him. Set a new start record at 5:11 in the first heat. Can they go quicker? 5:12 in the second.
Well, this is Lyndon Rush's best heat of the season, was that last heat. Looks a little unsure himself there, a little bit of a drift in his Eurotech sled. He was Canada 1, and he's been nudged out by his teammate Chris Spring. And I think Lyndon Rush is looking to gain the momentum back as we go into Sochi. 600ths of a lead. He's going to need unbelievable drive lines here on the bottom part of the track to match Zubkov.
He and Spring are tied on points in the World Cup rankings for Canada.
Decent.
600s. 106.5, a fraction slower than Zubkov.
And Zubkov was perfect down here in his wellness sled. Down to 3. Now this isn't looking good. He's going to have that 139.7 or 8 to have a chance down here.
Needs to stay in front to guarantee himself a medal. Taps the
Doesn't
wall.
have it. No speed at all.
He's going to fall back. Zubkov's in the medals.
Maybe behind Holcomb too. No, stays there, just barely stays above Holcomb. Oh, he stays above Holcomb by 2/10.
Voda in the left of your shot in the podium.
But still, the best result of the season for Lyndon Rush.
Yeah.
I'm sure he's going to say good, and then next week in Innsbruck, get a little better in Königssee. Then he'll go into the Olympic Games with the confidence that he needs.
Yeah, there's only one end of this season you want to win, isn't it? And that's the tail end.
Here's the entry into Horseshoe. He's going to try and drift over to the right side here and get on the take-on. Look how high he climbs into Horseshoe. Looks low. Looks like he steered quite a bit right there.
Well, there is the enormous traps and lats of Lascelles Brown. Next up, Beat Hefty with Alex Baumann. Beat Hefty, one of the world's most explosive brakemen, one of the world's best two-man drivers. Voda and Zubkov, left to right. Voda looks like he's twice the size of Zubkov, who's hardly a shrinking violet himself.
He's a big man.
He is a big man. So too is Beat Hefty. What a powerhouse. 5:11 start in the first heat to go second.
6'2". I'd say he's going about 255 or 60 now. And they set his track record at the start in the first heat. There he do it again!
Shatters it. 5:08, new start record.
Start monster.
Well, this is what Hefty was so famous for, behind Martin Annan as a brakeman, and now in his own right as a driver.
Unbelievable start times. And he went early in the run, so he might have been at a disadvantage in the first heat. You know, and Swiss TV team told me it was the best heat he's had all week. If he puts another best heat he's had all week, then I think he's got a chance to win the gold.
Now, he doesn't want to stay in front of Alexander Zubkov only. He wants to challenge the first heat leader, Francesco Friedrich, who was a 10th quicker. He needs a genius run. 106.5, less speed than the Russian.
A lot of time in the bank. I don't think he can throw that away. He's going to lose some time back. Zubkov flew down the bottom part of the track.
But he wants to take gold. It's not about just beating Zubkov. 1:39.8 from Zubkov, 1:39.7 from
That's
Hefty.
great speed.
Good speed, he'll stay in front. Is it enough to challenge for gold? 1800s in front, 1:06.66. Francesco Friedrich went faster than that in the first heat. Will have to do so again to win.
And gold medal last week for Beat Hefty. No worse than a silver here. And he is online to peak at the Olympic Games, because next week in Innsbruck, I say he's going to win the gold medal on that short little refrigerated track over in Eagles.
And he's got a great chance at Koenigsegg as well, because he can drive as well as he can start. They're happy with that, aren't they?
That's a home track over there for him too. So look at the size. This is a guy who's 255 pounds. Now watch him athletically jump in the sled here. And watch him sit down quietly. His brakeman's unbelievable. Hey, Beat.
Yeah, there is Beat Hefty, the race leader here in Moritz, Switzerland. But the final sled on the ice is the reigning two-man world champion. Where did he win that title? Right here, 23-year-old Francesco Friedrich with Janis Becker going for gold again.
5:12 on the first run, 5:12 on the second run. At the World Championships last year, this young 22-year-old then won all 4 heats. He had the best start time in all 4 heats, and I think he came out and shocked the rest of the competition that a kid this young could withstand that much pressure in a 4-heat race, 2 heats on on the Saturday, 2 heats on Sunday, like an Olympic competition. And I think he's going to make a statement here again today if he can get through as the leader.
Well, that was the significance. He was the double junior 2- and 4-man world champion last year, but to come up against the best in the world and win the 2-man title was his crowning glory.
106.70, better speed. Little tap there before Devil's Dyke. He's going to need to be perfect, and that's not perfect.
He had 107.2 in the first heat. This is giving away the gold medal to Beat Hefty. It's not coming back from here. Friedrich needs 140 kilometers an hour to snatch it away, and he's not
going to do it. He's going to fall back 2 places.
He may not be in the medals. Beat Hefty is going to win. Francesco Friedrich is in third place. Eases Lyndon Rush out by 700s, but Hefty wins. Baumann alongside him, and Hefty's little daughter there in the finish area as well. Wow, Francesco Friedrich, the world champion in 2-man 11 months ago, gets the bronze medal here behind Alexander Zubkov and Beat Hefty. He couldn't hold his first round advantage. He couldn't keep it as clean as he needed, but he ends up on the podium nonetheless. That's his second bronze medal of the season in 2-man. Well, here is the first of the little misdemeanors. Just gets on a fraction early, drops off, then comes back up the corner, has to haul it off. See the runners moving. First steers right, then steers left because he knows he's oversteered. And at that speed, 70 miles an hour there and climbing, all cost time. But Beat Hefty, thrilled to win here. Big day for women's bobsledding in Switzerland earlier on, with Fabienne Meyer leading Heat 1 and taking the bronze, and Beat coming from second to win here in the 2-man competition. And with Alex Baumann behind him, we've got a really impressive starting lineup. And now Beat Hefty, as mature a driver perhaps as he's ever likely to become, is in the form of his career. And the Swiss driver is a real threat. The 35-year-old now. He was third in the Olympics in 2002 and in 2006 as a brakeman for Martin Annan. Can he go better? Can he step up onto the top step of the podium as a driver in 2010 in the 2-man? He's got to have good odds going his way. Zubkov second, Friedrich third, Lyndon Rush a whisker out in fourth, Holcomb some redemption in fifth in the 2-man, Chris Spring taking 6th position. Thomas Florschutz only 9th, the bronze medalist here last year. Well, that's the remainder of the top 20. Disastrous day for Edwin van Kalker, tumbling to the bottom of the pile with another forgettable weekend. Well, well, well. Fabienne Meyer, her first ever World Cup medal about an hour and a half ago, 2 hours ago, and now Beat Hefty takes the gold medal for the second week in a row. Silver in Calgary, silver in the first race in Lake Placid. And now, as soon as we hit European tracks, 2 in a row. Winterberg, a big starter's track. Moritz, a big driver's track. The start certainly didn't harm him, but you have to contain the speed all the way down the track, and he managed to do so. And the Mum Champagne girls, they're having a busy old time. They work all day at the track, and then they work all evening in the receptions for the sponsors. Well, the Swiss fans will be delighted with Bert Hefti, and that will help bring a lot more of them out to the track for Sunday's four-man and the second men's skeleton race as well. And we'll be covering all the action here live for you from St. Moritz, trying to bring you a little bit more of the news, the excitement, the action, the history and the pageantry of this wonderful, wonderful location. If you could paint from your mind's eye a picture postcard view of what winter sliding used to look like in the 1880s, 1900s, then the track would look like this, and it hasn't changed. The athletes may have become fitter and younger, the sleds might have become more sophisticated and faster, but the challenge faced in 2014 is the same faced in 1928 and 1948 in the Winter Olympic Games that were both held here, and for many years before and since. It's just a wonderful location in which to come and watch the world's best sliders at play. And there's no doubt that they feel exactly the same. Little orange hut right in the center, by the way, that's the finish of the famous Cresta run that runs parallel to the bob run down the hill. Stephen Holcomb of the USA, with 4 wins under his belt, is still our World Cup leader. Bert Hefti with a second consecutive victory. He's the only other man to have won this season, lies second. Alexander Zubkov jumps Corey Butner to go third. Francesco Friedrich goes from 6th to 4th as Butner slips a little down the order with a disappointing day today, only a 15th place finish for the American slider. John Jackson of Great Britain in 20th position, moves up 1 place in the World Cup rankings. Well, here's our top 3. On the right, the Russians that took the silver medal. On the left, in the yellow jackets, the Germans that took the bronze. And in the red of Switzerland, being presented with the magnum of Mum Champagne and the presentation box. Bert Hefti and Alex Baumann are race winners from Switzerland. Well, Bert Hefti was always going to be in the hunt here in St. Moritz. He was in 2nd place after the first heat, but he put in a blinding second run. And Francesco Friedrich, the surprise, perhaps, first-round leader, wasn't the quickest in training, was the world champion on the track last year, couldn't hold it together. Hefti did. Consistency, speed, power, strength, he's got the lot. Eric Ellar, the driving coach, delighted with that. Another Swiss win in St. Moritz. Well, another race win for Bert Hefti, his second in as many weekends. No wonder he's smiling. Let's hear what our leaders thought of it. We'll get down and join John Morgan on the finish dock.
Team Zubkov, run number 2. Good drive.
Работали, старались, команда отработала. Алексей сделал на старте, я сделал на трассе. Поэтому молодцы.
The humble guy he is, he reflects everything to his brakeman and his good start time. I don't blame you, Alexander. Nice drive. Now over to Team Friedrich. Second run, not as good as your first, huh?
Yes, the second run was really bad, and the first run was really good, but yeah, Bert was today the better, and Alex.
Brakeman was pretty good, huh?
Yes.
Good starts. Hefti. Wow, in St. Moritz. What does this mean to you to win in St. Moritz?
I don't know. I have no words now, so it's awesome. We can win here. It's the first time, so we are really happy.
What a great way you've started the season, Bert.
Yeah, it's going better and better, and we hope we can go again good in Innsbruck, and we will see.
Well, celebrate tonight, but remember, 4-man bob tomorrow.
Our silver medalist in last year's World Championships, Bert Hefti, beats the gold medalist, Francesco Friedrich, into 3rd position as Alexander Zubkov takes the silver medal. But for Bert Hefti, first career win here in St. Moritz, and that will make that extra, extra special. And it might be his last chance to win here as well. It might be possibly the Swiss driver's last season as a driver. Well, that's it for the two-man race. Thanks again to John Morgan for words of wisdom and for chatting to our top three, and to the whole FIBT TV crew here in St. Moritz. Join us for more action live from the Swiss track. We'll bring you four-man and men's skeleton on Sunday. Till then, from me, Martin Haven, it's goodbye.